The prince, who was the king's first son, was enjoying himself at a festival when he was suddenly stopped. Angered by this, he went to the king to complain. He was furious at his son's disrespectful behavior and personally scolded him. Meanwhile, the youngest son was someone who knew nothing except books. When the king announced that he would make the youngest son the crown prince, the youngest was shocked. Not wanting to become the prince, he tried to convince his second brother, who was a monk, to take the position instead. While they were talking, the eldest brother suddenly appeared and threatened the youngest not to become the crown prince. The youngest was terrified of his eldest brother. At that moment, outside the palace, a fight broke out because of a young girl. The girl tried to teach his servant. He pretended to faint just to get close to her and grabbed her waist. While they teaching, her family was then arrested on suspicion of trying to start a rebellion. Also arrested while trying to help her father, who had collapsed. The servant tried to help her too, but his friend told him to hide, saying this kind of matter was none of their business. Inside the palace, the youngest prince was drinking out of frustration, because he didn't want to become the crown prince. While his bodyguards were drunk and asleep, he ran out of the palace. Outside, he fell down on the servant who was trying to save the girl. The servant's clothes were swapped with the prince's clothes. When the bodyguards woke up and found the prince missing, they searched for him. Outside the palace, they found the unconscious servant and, mistaking him for the prince, brought him back to the palace. Only after they returned did they realize he wasn't the prince, which shocked everyone. Meanwhile, the real prince thought he had escaped, but he was captured by slave traders because of his friend. One of the bodyguards went out to look for him. The servant was warned that if he didn't keep pretending to be the prince, both of them could be killed. The prince's wife wanted to bathe with him, but since he was dirty, she ran away. After some adjustments, he ended up looking exactly like the prince, which amazed everyone. The servant, now pretending to be the prince, was enjoying fine food and a luxurious lifestyle. The real prince was struggling outside the palace, experiencing hardships he had never faced before. When the bodyguard finally found him, the prince was overjoyed. But during the rescue, the bodyguard was also captured. Inside the palace, the servant who acting as prince tried to meet the girl, and the bodyguard couldn't stop him, so he brought the girl to the prince's room. The prince's wife saw this, got angry, but couldn't do anything. The real prince managed to escape from the slave traders. He faced many different situations and difficulties he had never experienced before. Inside the palace, the eldest brother attacked, questioning why the prince hadn't stepped down yet. But he was the one who ended up being beaten. While run away, the prince rescued the young girl and her father from a forced labor camp. They were given shelter by a kind old man who appeared to be helping. Old man took the prince to one place, but in truth, he stole the rice and took the prince to carry bags of rice with him. Inside the palace, a powerful counselor realized the servant wasn't the real prince and threatened him to obey. The prince and the young girl were both captured. The ambassador from a powerful nation tried to take the girl away. The servant punched the ambassador and escaped with the girl. The real prince, hiding near the palace city, saw the girl being mistreated and intervened to save her. Just as he was about to be killed, his friends arrived in time and rescued him. Escaping together with his bodyguard, having saw many injustices, the prince became furious at those who oppressed the poor. The servant and the prince came face to face. When their pursuers appeared, they ran away together and swapped their places again. When the prince returned to the palace, powerful counselor thought he was the servant pretending to be the prince, so they didn't listen to him and scolded him. The prince cleverly offered drink to the ambassador and exposed his corrupt actions. He also spoke out against the officials' wrongdoing, causing the ambassador to feel deep shame and even apologize to the king. The prince and the servant then took revenge on those who slapped on their face. Finally, the prince became the new king, and the servant lived happily ever with the girl.